My brother emptied my mother's house before her body was even cold. I found out when I came back from the funeral home and saw his black truck backed into the driveway, the tailgate open, boxes stacked inside like he was moving out of a college dorm. Only it wasn't his stuff. It was Mum's. Her jewelry box, her sewing machine, the antique mirror from the hallway, even the blue ceramic bowl she used every Sunday when she made apple pie. I stood on the porch in my black dress, holding the folder from the funeral director, watching my older brother carry our mother's life out of the house, one piece at a time. "Ethan," I said. He didn't even turn around. His wife, Madison, came out behind him with Mum's framed wedding photo tucked under one arm. That was the moment something inside me went quiet. Not angry, not broken. Quiet. Because when someone steals money, you can argue. When someone steals furniture, you can call the police. But when someone carries your dead mother's memories past you like garbage they found at an estate sale, you learn something about them that you can never unlearn. Ethan finally looked at me. "Oh," he said, like I was a neighbor he forgot to greet. "You're back." I looked at the boxes. "What are you doing?" He sighed, not guilty, annoyed. "Taking care of things." "Taking care of things," I repeated. Madison gave me that soft, fake smile she used when she wanted to sound gentle while being cruel. "Claire, this is hard for everyone. Ethan is just trying to make the process easier." Easier. That word almost made me laugh. Ethan had made everything easier for himself his entire life. When we were kids, he broke the garage window and I got blamed because I was closer to it. When he failed 2 college classes, Mum paid for private tutoring and called it a rough semester. When I lost my scholarship for 1 semester because I stayed home to help Mum after her surgery, Dad told me, "You're strong. You'll figure it out." Ethan never had to figure anything out. People cleared roads for him. People made excuses for him. People handed him things and called it destiny. And now he was standing in my mother's driveway, stealing from her house, while the lilies from her funeral were still wilting in the back seat of my car. I stepped off the porch. "Put it back." Ethan laughed once, short and sharp. "Claire, don't start." "I said put it back." He turned fully then, and for the first time that day, I saw the man my brother had become without Mum standing between us. Expensive coat, perfect haircut, gold watch, cold eyes. "This house doesn't belong to you," he said. "It doesn't belong to you either." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded paper. "I wouldn't be so sure." I didn't move. He unfolded it slowly, enjoying himself. Madison watched me like she was waiting for the exact second my face changed. "It's a copy of Mum's will," Ethan said. "She left the house to me." The driveway seemed to tilt under my feet. "No." "Yes." "That's impossible." "Not impossible," he said. "Just disappointing for you." I stared at the paper, but the words blurred. Mum would not have done that. Not after the last 3 years. Not after I moved back home. Not after I drove her to every appointment, sorted every pill, sat with her through nights when the pain made her cry into her pillow because she didn't want Ethan to hear weakness in her voice over the phone. Not after she held my hand 2 weeks before she died and whispered, I'm sorry I didn't protect you sooner. Ethan waved the paper slightly. You can read it if you want, but it's legal. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. What did she leave me? Ethan's smile widened. That's the thing. Madison looked away, pretending to adjust her scarf. What? I asked. She left you her old recipe box. For a second, nobody spoke. Then Ethan chuckled. That little wooden one in the kitchen. The one with the cards. So, technically, you did get something. My mother's recipe box. That was what my brother thought was funny. He got the house, the furniture, the accounts, the car, and everything inside. I got a wooden box full of handwritten recipes. Ethan leaned closer. Don't take it personally. Mum knew I had a family, responsibilities, a real life. A real life. I had given up a job in Chicago to move back and take care of Mum. I had slept in a chair beside her hospital bed. I had learned how to change wound dressings with steady hands, even when I wanted to throw up. I had answered every midnight phone call. Ethan had sent flowers twice. But he had a real life. I looked past him into the house. The front door was open. The hallway was half empty. Mum's house already looked like someone had taken a bite out of it. Where is the recipe box? I asked. Ethan blinked. What? The recipe box. Where is it? His amusement faded into impatience. Kitchen, probably. Take it and go. I need to finish before the buyers come next week. The buyers? Madison's eyes flecked towards him. That was my first clue. Tiny, almost nothing, but I saw it. Ethan had said too much. I looked at him. You're selling the house? It's mine. Mum died 4 days ago. And bills don't wait 4 days. What bills? His jaw tightened. The estate has expenses. That was a lie. I didn't know how I knew yet, but I did. Ethan had always lied with too many explanations. When he told the truth, he was brief. When he lied, he built a fence around it and hoped you wouldn't look over. I walked past him. He grabbed my arm. Where do you think you're going? I looked down at his hand. Take your hand off me. For a moment I thought he might not. Then Madison said softly, Ethan. He released me. I walked into the house. Every room smelled like flowers and cardboard. The living room was stripped of warmth. The bookshelves were empty. The quilt Mum kept on the sofa was gone. The clock above the fireplace still ticked, but without the photos underneath it, the sound felt wrong. In the kitchen, the recipe box sat on the counter. Small, wooden, scratched at the corners. A faded strawberry painted on the lid. I had seen that box my entire life. Mum kept it near the stove, even though she knew most recipes by heart. Every holiday she opened it, shuffled through cards, and pretended she needed instructions for things she had made 100 times. I picked it up. It was heavier than I remembered. Ethan appeared in the doorway. Happy now? I held the box against my chest. No? He crossed his arms. Claire, I know this feels unfair. I laughed then. I couldn't help it. He looked offended. You know what feels unfair? I said. That you're standing in her kitchen acting like a victim because you had to wait 4 whole days before selling everything she owned. His face hardened. You always do this. Do what? Make everything emotional. She was our mother, and she made her decision. No, I said. Someone made a decision. I'm not convinced it was her. The room went still. Madison stepped into view. That's a serious accusation. It's a serious situation. Ethan's voice dropped. Careful. That word, careful. Not you're wrong, not how dare you. Careful. Another clue. I looked at the recipe box in my hands, then at my brother. For the first time that day, he looked nervous. Only for a second, but I saw it. And suddenly, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. He didn't want me to open that box. So I smiled, not because I was happy, because I finally had something he wanted. I'll leave, I said. Ethan's eyes narrowed. That's it? That's it. I walked past him before he could decide whether to stop me. Outside, the air felt colder. I put the recipe box in the passenger seat and drove away without looking back. But I didn't go home. I drove 3 blocks, turned into the parking lot of a closed pharmacy, locked the doors, and opened the box. At first, it looked exactly like I expected. Yellowed cards, Mum's handwriting, apple pie, chicken soup, lemon cake, Sunday rolls. But underneath the cards, there was something else. A thin piece of cardboard lining the bottom, loose at one corner. My hand stopped moving. I glanced through the windshield, half expecting Ethan's truck to pull in behind me. Nothing. Just an empty parking lot and a flickering streetlight. I lifted the cardboard. Underneath was a small silver key and a folded note. My name was written on the outside. Claire. Not my daughter. Not to whom it may concern. Claire. My fingers shook so badly I almost tore the paper opening it. Inside, Mum had written only 6 sentences. Claire, if Ethan gives you this box, then there is still a chance. If he tries to keep it from you, then you already know the truth. The key is for box 417 at Millstone Bank. Do not tell your brother. And please forgive me for waiting so long. Love, Mum. I read it once, then again, then a third time. The whole car felt too small around me. Box 417, Millstone Bank. Do not tell your brother. My brother had taken the house, the money, the furniture, the sympathy, the role of grieving son. But he had missed the one thing Mum had hidden in plain sight. The thing he thought was worthless. The recipe box. I sat in that parking lot until the streetlight buzzed above me and the sky turned dark blue. Then I did something I hadn't done since Mum died. I cried. Not because Ethan had won, because for the first time, I realized he might not have. The next morning, I was at Millstone Bank before it opened. I wore the same black coat from the funeral because I hadn't had the energy to unpack anything else. At 8:58, I stood outside the glass doors with the silver key in my pocket and Mum's note folded inside my wallet. When the doors unlocked, I walked straight to the front desk. The woman behind it was older, with silver glasses and kind eyes. How can I help you? I need access to a safe deposit box, I said. She smiled politely. Box number? 417. Her expression changed, just slightly. You're Claire Whitmore. I froze. Yes? She looked toward the back offices. One moment, please. That was not normal. I had never opened a safe deposit box before, but I knew enough to understand that bank employees didn't usually recognize names from box numbers. A man in a grey suit came out a minute later. Ms. Whitmore? Yes? I'm Daniel Price, branch manager. I'm sorry for your loss. My throat tightened. Thank you. He lowered his voice. Your mother came in 6 weeks ago. She left instructions. I felt the key press into my palm. What kind of instructions? He hesitated. She said if you came alone, we were to give you access immediately. And if I didn't come alone? His face answered before he did. Then we were to call her attorney. My skin went cold. Her attorney? Yes, not the one handling the estate. I stared at him. There's another attorney. Mr. Price looked uncomfortable. I'm not allowed to discuss the contents of the box, but your mother was very clear. The hallway to the vault felt longer than it was. Every step echoed. A woman from the bank escorted me into a private room after unlocking the box. She placed the long metal container on the table. I'll give you privacy. The door closed. For a moment, I just stared at it. I don't know what I expected. Cash, jewelry, maybe old letters, something sentimental, something small. I was wrong. Inside the box were 3 things. A flash drive, a sealed envelope, and a leather folder with my name printed on a white label. I opened the envelope first. There was another letter from Mum, longer this time. Claire, if you are reading this, then I failed to say everything while I was alive. That is my shame, not yours. I let your brother become the center of this family because it was easier than fighting your father. After he died, I told myself I would fix it. Then I got sick. Then Ethan got louder. And I got scared. There are things you do not know about the house, about the company, about your father's money, and about the will Ethan believes gives him everything. Please read the folder carefully. Then call the attorney listed on the last page. Do not confront Ethan first. He is not as secure as he looks. Love, Mum. I covered my mouth. Not as secure as he looks. The sentence sat there like a lit match. I opened the leather folder. The first page was a copy of a trust document. The second page was a deed. The third was a financial statement. I didn't understand everything at first. Legal language has a way of making truth feel buried under stone. But one sentence stood out. The Whitmore residence shall not be sold, transferred, refinanced, or liquidated without written consent from Claire Ann Whitmore. I read it again, then again. My name, my consent. My brother could inherit the house, but he could not sell it without me. I flipped to the next page. There were records of transfers from an account I recognized immediately. My college fund. But the dates were wrong, the amounts were wrong, and the recipient was not the university. It was Ethan. Over and over. $10,000, $15,000, $22,000. Payment descriptions like temporary business support and emergency family loan. The last transfer had been made 2 months before Mum died. $48,000. My hands went numb. For years, I thought the money disappeared because medical bills swallowed everything. That was what Mum told me. That was what Ethan told me. That was the story everyone accepted. But the money hadn't disappeared. It had been drained. Slowly. Quietly. By my brother. At the bottom of the folder was a business card. Rebecca Hale, estate litigation attorney. There was a handwritten note under her name. She knows everything. I sat in that private bank room for almost 20 minutes without moving. Because grief is one thing when someone dies. It is another thing when the dead start telling you the truth. By noon, I was sitting across from Rebecca Hale in an office with tall windows and no family photos on the desk. She was in her 50s, calm in a way that made me feel both safe and terrified. She read Mum's letter without interrupting. Then she reviewed the documents. Then she looked at me and said the sentence that changed my life. Your brother has been lying to you for a very long time. I almost smiled. Not because it was funny, because hearing someone else say it made me feel less insane. What did he do? I asked. Rebecca folded her hands. How much do you know about your father's company? Not much. He sold it before he died, I thought. He did sell part of it, she said, but not everything. My heartbeat changed. What does that mean? It means your father retained minority ownership in several assets after the sale. Those assets were later placed into a family trust. I swallowed. And Ethan controls that trust. He tried to. Tried? Rebecca opened the folder and turned one page toward me. Your mother amended the trust 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago. The same time she went to the bank. What did she change? Rebecca's eyes held mine. She removed Ethan as successor trustee. The room went silent. And who did she name? I asked, though some part of me already knew. You. I looked down at the paper. My name was there again. Claire Ann Whitmore, successor trustee. I should have felt powerful. I didn't. I felt sick, because every new fact made the old years look different. Every sacrifice, every lie, every time Ethan told me I was dramatic, every time Mum looked away instead of answering. Rebecca continued. Ethan appears to have a copy of an older will. It gives him certain personal property and the residence, yes, but he does not control the trust. He cannot sell the house without your approval because the land beneath it is tied to the trust. The land beneath it? Yes. I stared at her. So he owns the house, but not fully. He owns less than he thinks. A strange laugh escaped me. Rebecca didn't smile. There is more. Of course there was. In stories, people say that like a dramatic line. In real life, it feels like the floor cracking under you for the 3rd time in one day. She slid another document towards me. Your mother suspected Ethan had been using her accounts while she was ill. I looked at the page. Bank withdrawals, credit cards, Loan documents, signatures. Some of them were Mum's, some were not. My stomach turned. Are you saying he forged her signature? I'm saying there are documents here that need forensic review. I thought of Ethan carrying Mum's jewellery box out of the house. Not grieving, not mourning, moving fast, too fast. Because he wasn't just taking memories, he was cleaning up evidence. Rebecca leaned back slightly. Claire, I need to ask you something carefully. Did your brother pressure your mother near the end of her life? I thought about the phone calls Mum ended whenever I entered the room, the way she looked exhausted after Ethan visited. The time I found her crying over paperwork and she said, "It's nothing, just old mistakes." The day she grabbed my wrist and whispered, "If something happens, don't let him make you feel crazy." I nodded. Yes. Rebecca's expression hardened. Then we move quickly. That afternoon, Ethan called me 6 times. I didn't answer. Then Madison texted, "Ethan says you took something from the house that doesn't belong to you." I looked at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "I took exactly what Mum left me." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then Ethan called. This time I answered. His voice was tight. "Where are you?" "Busy." "With what?" "Handling things." He didn't like hearing his own words thrown back at him. "That recipe box needs to be returned." I looked across Rebecca's office at the stack of copied documents. "Why?" "It belongs to the estate." "You told me it belonged to me." "I was being generous." "No," I said quietly. "You were being careless." Silence. Then his voice dropped. "What did you find?" There it was. Not, "What are you talking about?" Not, "Find what?" What did you find? I closed my eyes for half a second. Enough time to feel the last piece of hope I had for my brother die. "Goodbye, Ethan."
"Claire."
I hung up. Rebecca looked at me. "He knows." "Yes," I said. "Then he'll get desperate."
She was right. By evening, my phone was full of messages. From Ethan, from Madison, from cousins who had ignored me for years. From my Aunt Linda, who wrote, "Your mother wanted peace. Don't create drama now." Peace. People love asking victims for peace after benefiting from the war. I didn't reply. At 9:14 p.m., Ethan sent one final message. "You have no idea what you're messing with." I read it twice, then forwarded it to Rebecca. Her response came 1 minute later. "Good. Save everything." That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table with Mum's recipe box beside me, and the trust documents spread out like pieces of a life I had never been allowed to understand. Around 2 a.m., I opened the flash drive. There was only one folder. Its name was For Claire. Inside were audio files, 7 of them. My hand hovered over the mouse. I knew once I clicked, there would be no going back. Then I heard Mum's voice in my head. "Do not tell your brother." So I clicked the first file. Static. A chair creaking. Then Mum's voice, weak but clear. "Rebecca, I want this recorded because I'm afraid Ethan will challenge it. Another voice answered, "Go ahead, Margaret." Mum took a breath. "I want my daughter Claire to know that I was wrong." I stopped breathing. I let Ethan take too much. Not just money, space, attention, mercy. I kept telling myself he needed more because he was more fragile. But the truth is, Claire was the one I hurt by trusting her strength too much. My eyes burned. I know Ethan has been accessing my accounts. I know he convinced me to sign papers when I was medicated. I know he told Claire there was nothing left for her college because of medical bills. That was not true. I pressed my fist against my mouth. Mum's voice broke. "He took from her, and I let him." The recording continued. "He thinks the house is the prize. Let him think that. The house will expose him." I froze. The house will expose him. What did that mean? The audio ended. I clicked the second file. This one began with Ethan's voice, not Mum's. Ethan sounded irritated. "Just sign it, Mum. You said you wanted me to handle things." Mum's voice was softer. "I want to read it first." "There's no time." "I don't understand why the house has to be listed now." "Because Claire will make this difficult." My skin went cold. Mum whispered, "Claire has done nothing but help me." Ethan laughed. "She helps because she has nothing else. Don't confuse availability with loyalty." I sat back like he had slapped me. Even through a recording years later, he could still find the softest place and press hard. Then came the sound of papers moving. Mum said, "I don't want her left with nothing." Ethan's voice sharpened. "She won't be left with nothing. Give her the recipes. She likes sentimental things." The recipes. My brother had chosen my inheritance as a joke. And Mum had turned that joke into a trap. For the first time since the funeral, I smiled. A real smile. Small. Painful. But real. Because Ethan had taken everything. Except the one thing he never understood. My mother knew him better than he thought. And she had left me proof. The next morning, Rebecca filed an emergency petition to freeze the estate assets. By lunch, Ethan knew. By 3 p.m., he was at my apartment door. Not knocking, pounding. "Claire, open the door!" I stood in the hallway, barefoot, phone in hand, recording. "Claire, I swear to God!" The neighbour across the hall opened her door. Ethan immediately lowered his voice. That was Ethan. Rage in private, charm in public. "Everything okay?" my neighbour asked. I looked through the peephole. Ethan's face changed the second he noticed her. "Yes," he said smoothly. "Family matter." I opened the door with the chain still on. "What do you want?" His eyes flicked to the chain. "You filed something against me." "My attorney filed something." His jaw moved. "You don't know what you're doing." "I'm learning." "This is grief," he said. "You're unstable." There it was. The word. Unstable. The same word he used when I cried at Dad's funeral. The same word he used when I objected to him selling Mum's car while she was still alive. The same word he used any time my pain became inconvenient.
I tilted my head. "Is that what you're going to tell everyone?" His face went still. And I knew. Yes, that was exactly what he was going to tell everyone. He leaned closer to the opening. "You always wanted to punish me because Mum loved me more." For 1 second, the old Claire rose up. The Claire who wanted to explain, to defend, to prove she wasn't jealous, wasn't bitter, wasn't the problem. But that version of me had exhausted herself for 34 years. So I just said, "You should leave." He smiled. It was ugly. "You think some lawyer scares me?" "No." I held up my phone. "But this recording might." His eyes dropped to the screen. Then he stepped back. For the first time in my life, I saw real fear on my brother's face.
Not anger pretending to be fear. Not pride pretending to be insult. Fear. Pure and sharp. He looked at my neighbour, then back at me. "This isn't over." "No," I said. "It isn't." He walked away. But I knew he wasn't finished. Men like Ethan don't stop when they're caught. They stop when there is nowhere left to hide. And my mother, quiet as she had been, had left me a map to every hiding place. That night, I opened the 3rd audio file. And by the time it ended, I understood why Ethan wanted the house sold so quickly. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about grief. It wasn't even about inheritance. There was something inside that house. Something my father had hidden before he died. Something Ethan had been searching for. And according to my mother's recording, he had never found it. I didn't sleep that night. Not after hearing the 3rd recording. Not after hearing my mother's voice say, "Ethan thinks your father hid money in the house. That's why he's desperate to sell it before anyone starts asking questions." I replayed that sentence 4 times. Not because I didn't understand it, because I finally did. The house, that stupid house. It was never about memories, never about grief, never about inheritance. Ethan wasn't rushing because he wanted closure. He was rushing because he wanted control. And control disappears when people start looking closely. The next morning, Rebecca listened to the recording. When it ended, she remained silent for several seconds. Then she said something unexpected. "Your father didn't hide money." I frowned. "Then what did he hide?" She opened one of the documents from the trust file. "A paper trail." The words landed harder than I expected. "A paper trail?" Rebecca nodded. "Your father was one of the most organized people I've ever met." That was true. Dad kept everything. Receipts, contracts, tax returns, warranty cards, even instruction manuals. Mum used to joke that if civilization collapsed, Dad could rebuild it using labelled filing cabinets. Rebecca slid a page toward me. "He suspected Ethan years ago." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" "Your father noticed money disappearing." I stared at her. "When?" "Almost 9 years before he died." I felt physically sick. 9 years. 9 years! That meant this wasn't a recent mistake. This wasn't grief. This wasn't desperation. This was a pattern. Rebecca continued. He confronted Ethan privately. What happened? He denied everything. Of course he did. What happened after that? Rebecca turned another page. Your father started documenting everything. The room became very quiet. Then I understood. The hidden thing wasn't money. It was evidence. My father had been building a case, and somehow Ethan never found it, which meant it was probably still inside the house, exactly where Ethan was terrified someone might discover it. That afternoon, Rebecca filed another motion, preventing the sale of the property until the investigation was complete. Ethan called immediately, then texted, then emailed, then left voice messages. I ignored every single one. Until Madison called. I almost didn't answer. Almost. But curiosity won. Her voice sounded different. No fake sweetness, no superiority, just stress. Claire? Madison? We need to talk. Interesting. Not Ethan. Not we're sorry. Not there's been a misunderstanding. We need to talk. What about? Silence. Then, he's lying to me too. I sat up straighter. What? Another silence, longer this time. Then she whispered, I think Ethan is in trouble. Now I was listening. Really listening. Because villains rarely destroy themselves, but they often start making mistakes when they're scared. And scared people talk. We met the next day at a coffee shop 40 minutes away from town. Madison looked exhausted. Dark circles, no makeup, hair tied back. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. Or months. She sat down, took a deep breath, then said, Ethan owes money. Not surprising, but the amount was. He owes over $600,000. I blinked. What? Madison nodded. I found the loans. Loans for what? She laughed, except it wasn't really laughter. It sounded closer to heartbreak. I don't even know anymore. Then she started talking. Business failures, private lenders, credit lines, refinancing attempts, personal guarantees, bad investments, hidden debt. Years of it. All buried, all hidden. Even from her. Then she looked directly at me. The house wasn't enough. I already knew where this was going. He thought there was something else. She nodded. Your father told him once. My heartbeat quickened. Told him what? That some things are worth more than money. I froze. Dad used to say that, all the time. But Ethan always assumed he meant actual money. A secret account, hidden cash, an investment. Something tangible. Something he could spend. Madison swallowed. Ethan became obsessed with finding whatever your father left behind. The puzzle pieces started connecting, one by one. For years. For years, Ethan had been searching. Through the house, through documents, through bank accounts, through Mum's paperwork. And he never found it. Because he was looking for wealth, not truth. 3 days later, everything changed. A contractor called. The same contractor Ethan hired to prepare the house for sale. Turns out he found something. Inside a wall, behind the built-in bookshelf in Dad's office, a hidden metal lockbox. The moment Rebecca told me, my entire body went cold. Because suddenly every recording made sense. Every warning, every clue, every delay. Dad knew. Mum knew. And now we finally had it. The lockbox was opened in the presence of attorneys. Inside were dozens of documents. Old ledgers, account records, signed agreements, letters. And one thick folder labelled Ethan. Rebecca spent 2 days reviewing everything. Then she called me. "Sit down before I tell you this." That sentence never leads anywhere good. Or simple. I sat, then waited. Rebecca took a breath. "Your father figured it out." My heart pounded. Figured out what? Ethan wasn't just taking money from family. I felt the room shrink around me. "What do you mean?" "He was stealing from the company." I closed my eyes. No, not surprising, but still painful. Because part of me had spent years hoping Ethan was selfish, not criminal. The documents proved otherwise. Unauthorized transfers, forged approvals, missing funds, altered records. Years of them. Dad had collected everything, every piece, every receipt, every discrepancy, every lie. He had been building a file, not because he wanted to destroy his son, because he hoped he could stop him. But then Dad died, and the truth got buried. Until now. The investigation moved fast after that. Faster than I expected. Forensic accountants got involved. Then the trust auditors. Then law enforcement. Then lenders. Then people Ethan owed money to started asking questions too. A lot of questions. Suddenly, the confident man who strutted through Mum's house carrying boxes wasn't so confident anymore. Because lies work best when nobody checks the numbers. And now, everyone was checking. The real collapse happened 6 months later. Not in court, not on television, not dramatically. Quietly, realistically, the way most consequences arrive. The business failed. The debts surfaced. The lawsuits followed. Properties were liquidated, accounts frozen, partnerships dissolved. People stopped returning his calls, and for the first time in his life, nobody stepped in to save him. Not Mum, not Dad, not me. Nobody. The strangest moment came a year later. I was leaving a grocery store. Simple day, simple afternoon, nothing special. And I saw him, sitting alone at a small outdoor table, older, thinner, smaller somehow, not physically, emotionally. Like someone who had spent decades borrowing importance from other people and suddenly had none left. He saw me too. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he stood. Part of me expected anger, excuses, blame. Instead, he looked tired. Just tired. "I never thought she'd choose you." The word surprised me, not because they were cruel, because they were honest. Maybe the first honest thing he'd said in years. I looked at him. No,
I said quietly. She finally chose the truth. He looked away, and for the first time in our lives he had no argument, no manipulation, no clever response. Nothing. Just silence. A few seconds later, I walked away, and he didn't stop me. That night I went home and opened Mum's recipe box. The same box, the one Ethan laughed about, the one he called worthless, the one he almost threw away. I ran my fingers over the faded wood, then opened it. The recipes were still there. Apple pie, Sunday rolls, lemon cake, chicken soup.
All stained with flour and fingerprints and time. I smiled, because in the end, my brother was right about one thing. Mum did leave me the recipe box. What he never understood was that she wasn't giving me recipes. She was giving me proof, a second chance, and the truth. The thing he spent years looking for wasn't hidden in a bank account. It wasn't hidden under floorboards. It wasn't hidden in the walls. It wasn't hidden in money. It was hidden inside something he never valued enough to examine. And that's the reason he lost. Because my brother took everything. The house, the furniture, the accounts, the jewelry, the inheritance, the sympathy, the attention, the role of favorite child. He took all of it. Except the one thing that mattered. The truth. And eventually, the truth took everything back.